the UK out over a period of time, but the idea, the report also says that those outside the UK see the UK as the most desirable place to work in the world. So if people do leave, and it is their right to do so if they wish, then there's a load of people out in the world, highly skilled individuals, who wish to come to the UK to replace them. So it's
where are they currently then? Where are these people living at the moment?
Well, the report indicates that they see it beneficial in Australia, America, and elsewhere. That may also be where the individuals are based, and highly skilled individuals are out there in those countries and beyond. And so, broadly, after we leave the European Union, we have the opportunity to remake our immigration to favour not just those outside the world, not just those inside the European Union, but give a level playing field for those who want to come to the UK to seek better opportunities.
So just to clarify, then, you see this as good news?
Well, I see it as endorsement of the strong economy in the sense that 64% of non-British workers in the UK currently would like to stay in the UK. That's over 2 million.
Yeah, we could lose a lot of nurses, though, couldn't we, lastly?
Well, there are a whole range of professions across the board where non-Brits are employed, but I would like to say that there's also an indication, potentially, that that number is to do with the increased possibility of Corbyn becoming Prime Minister, and that is a fear for everyone in the country. That would be catastrophic.
Well, hang on, not for the people who voted Labour a few weeks ago. It wouldn't be a fear for them. It would be a positive desire, wouldn't it? And all those people chanting his name down at Glastonbury, I think they'd rather cherish the thought.
And I know that may be true, but for these non-Brits who may be remembering the 1970s when things were piling up in the streets and it was a disaster.
How many people living here now who are not British would remember the 1970s?
All those from Eastern Europe would certainly know through family history, and indeed...
What, they've been here that long? I thought the Eastern European immigration in large numbers only really took place under Tony Blair's government.
Well, they would know from their family history.
Well, how would they? I don't understand. If I've arrived here from Budapest, how the hell would I know what was happening in London in the 70s?
Oh, well, they would know from their own experience, sorry.
How? I don't know. I have no idea what was happening in Budapest in 1977. How the hell would someone who's here from Lithuania know what was happening here? Have you thought this through?
No.
How would they?
Let them speak.
What was the political situation in Latvia in the late 70s?
Well, they were under Soviet occupation.
Yeah, but I mean, what were the main stories? What were the main issues? How was the rubbish being taken away? I don't blame you for not knowing. There's no way you know. They won't know what was happening here. They won't know about Jim Callaghan and the Winter of Discontent and Red Robbo and British Leyland and Michael Edwards. Of course they won't.
I'm telling you, high inflation, low unemployment.
Mate, they just come here to pick strawberries. Honestly, they come here to pick strawberries and dig up potatoes. That's what they come here for, be nurses. And now they're all going to go. We won't have anybody picking the strawberries. How are we going to get the strawberries out?
Nick, this report looks at highly skilled individuals. It doesn't look at people coming over to seasonal trades, strawberries or other things.
That means we're going to lose dentists then.
It's highly skilled individuals who are permanent residents in the UK.
Right.
So, yeah.
So we're going to lose dentists and accountants and surgeons. Who is going to look after the nation's teeth?
People in the UK, those people from outside the UK who will be coming in. As I said earlier, there's a natural churn for people going in and people coming out of the UK each year. Actually, we have a population with the greatest spike in the past 70 years. We have over 65 million people in this country. And I back Britain for creating those jobs and also upskilling workers going forward.
Roy Broomfield, thank you. You're Director of Better Off Out and the Freedom Association. Your views on that also coming up after the news. Jeremy Hunt stayed silent over 700,000 lost letters to patients. Here's someone from the National Audit Office.
We have a quote in the report. Some people thought that it was just filing rather than this was clinical material, clinical correspondence that was important to people.
Yeah, a pretty unhealthy situation. The National Health Service. There, more on that after this. 7:46 LBC News headlines. Philip Chrysikos.
Documents show ministers were advised fire safety regulations were adequate effort, despite also being told a year ago high-rise buildings were covered in flammable material. A review has found hundreds of NHS patients in England may have been harmed after 700,000 records were mistakenly put into storage. The White House says it's got evidence suggesting the Syrian regime is preparing.
I keep going. You know, getting arrested was one of the best things that ever happened to me. The alternative was having to go home. So instead, I joined the Marines. That introduced me to an entirely new world, where I learned that there was a totally different way of living your life. It taught me that you can be rewarded by doing things right and taking care of your fellow soldiers. What did I learn? That my main goal is to be a great father, not like the shitty father I had. I want to be the man that my sons deserve. I feel tears starting to fall down my cheeks, which I wipe away, angry that my body is betraying me. That good enough for you, Steve? I say with a lot more anger than I had intended. Steve nods with a half smile, saying slowly, "Thank you, Bill. I know that was as difficult for you as it was for all of us." I exhale slowly and breathe deeply one more time, trying to regain some equilibrium that I hadn't realized I'd lost. The uncomfortable silence goes on. "I know this isn't my place to say, Bill," Wes says slowly, "but I'm pretty sure your dad would be incredibly proud of you. And he would realize what a total piece of shit he was compared to you." I hear laughter around the table, and Patty says quietly, "I agree with Wes. Those kids of yours are luckier than they'll ever know." Wes grunts in agreement, and Chris nods at me, and I find myself crying for the first time in over 30 years. Embarrassed, I pull myself together and look up at everyone. I'm relieved to see everyone shifting mental gears and turning their attention back to Steve, who looks around the room. "First, I'd like to thank all of you for giving of yourself and doing that exercise with me," he says. "Although it's nice to get to know each of you better, I wouldn't do this if I didn't think it was important. Solving any complex business problem requires teamwork, and teamwork requires trust. Lencioni teaches that showing vulnerability helps create a foundation for that. I know it's unrealistic to think we're going to leave this meeting knowing exactly what we need to do, with priorities and owners assigned," he continues. "But I would like to have a joint vision as we move toward a solution." Steve puts both hands in front of him and says, "Just to get the ball rolling, I'd like to propose that one of our main problems is that we blow every commitment and schedule that we make. People outside of IT are always grumbling that we miss whatever expectations we set, by a mile. Which makes me think," he says, looking around the room, "that we're probably not good at making internal commitments to one another here within IT. Thoughts?" Uncomfortable silence. "Look, I don't want to split hairs," Chris finally says defensively. "But if you look at the actual metrics, my group has delivered almost every project on time. We make our dates." "Yeah, just like you hit the Phoenix date, right?" Wes says, jeering. "Now that was a huge success. I heard Steve was really proud of your performance last week." Chris